going to explain about voice. Before explaining the topic, let me tell you that in my previous class, I have already explained how to change a sentence into passive voice if the sentence is given in all forms of present tense, past tense and future tense. And now, I am going to explain conversion of interrogative sentence into passive voice. In an active voice, when do, does or did are used as an interrogative sentence, then while changing into passive voice, do or does changes into is or are and did changes into was or were. Remember that does means singular and do means plural. But with I and you, always do is used, not does. Though I and you are singular subject. Was means singular and were means plural. Now let me explain with examples. Example 1. Do they watch the match every month? This sentence is given in interrogative form. In this sentence, we are talking about they. So they is the subject here. They is doing the work of what? So what is the verb here? Do. They watch what? The match. So the match is the object and everyone is the agent. While changing this sentence into passive voice, the object, the match, is singular, so is used instead of do. The object, the match, comes in place of subject as the sentence is given in simple present tense. So the third form of watch is watched. Then the agent, everyone, is added. So in passive voice, this sentence becomes is the match watched every month. Example 2. Did mother bake these biscuits? This is an interrogative sentence given in simple past tense. In this sentence, mother is the subject, bake is the verb and these biscuits is the object here. While changing this sentence into passive voice, the object these biscuits is plural. So, where is added in place of did. The object these biscuits comes in place of subject. The third form of bake is baked. By is always added in passive voice. The subject mother goes in place of object. So in passive voice, this sentence becomes were these biscuits baked by mother. Auxiliary verbs like have or has used in the active voice in interrogative sentence change to have or has used in active voice in interrogative sentences change to have been plus past participle of the verb. Models like can, must, should, do not change into active voice or passive voice. For example, have you written this letter? This sentence is given in negative form. In this sentence, you is the subject, written is the verb and this letter is the object. While changing this sentence into passive voice, have remains in its original place. The object, these letters, comes in place of subject. Then been is added. The third form of write is written. By is always added in passive voice. The subject you goes in place of object. So in passive voice, this sentence becomes have these letters written by you. When a question begins with what, where, which, when and it is changed from the active voice to passive voice. The question word do not change in the beginning and the preposition usually by is placed towards the end of the sentence. For example, which road have the protesters blocked? While changing this sentence into passive voice, this sentence becomes which road has been blocked by the protesters. Now, let me explain conversion of imperative sentences into passive voice. Imperative sentence can be converted into passive voice by following a few steps. Number 1. The passive structure of a command or order begins with let. The imperative verb changes to be plus participle. For example, number 1. Do not ill-treat the poor. While changing this sentence into passive voice, it becomes let the poor not be ill-treated. Step 2. To change an advice or suggestion into passive form, we change the object of the imperative sentence into the subject in the passive structure. The verb expressing the advice or suggestion becomes should or must plus be plus third form of the verb. For example, number 1. Take medicines at regular timings. While changing this sentence into passive voice, this sentence becomes medicines should be taken at regular timings. Example 2. Call the police. In passive voice, this sentence becomes the police must be called. Step 3. In an imperative sentence, when the request begins with please or kindly, sometimes the phrase you are requested to is placed before the imperative verb. In the negative sentence, you are requested not to plus verb is used. For sentences asking permission, the words kindly or please are placed between may and be. For example, number 1, please send the invoice at the earliest. While changing into passive voice, it becomes the invoice may kindly be sent at the earliest. Example 2, please tie your seat belts. Do not get up. In passive voice, this sentence becomes you are requested to tie your seat belt and not to get up. And with this, I am ending my today's class. Goodbye.